If you think love means saying yes to everything, then this video will destroy you, because today, you will discover why she pulls away when you love her too much, why your desire scares instead of conquering, and why women lose respect exactly for the kind of man who tries to be perfect for them.
You will understand why she tests you, why she grows cold, why she loses admiration, even when you give everything, and most importantly, you will discover how Socrates can free you from the worst kind of prison, the prison of depending on her love to remember who you are. This is not a video about how to please. It is a mirror, and many will hate the reflection. If topics like psychology, philosophy, and the darkness of the human soul interest you, subscribe to the channel now. Wisdom consists in knowing the right time to speak and the right time to be silent. You saw her, and in that instant, your entire world shifted without her even noticing. A glance, a smile, an innocent gesture, and suddenly, everything that was once a priority, your mission, your values, your purpose, faded into the background. Socrates said the greatest danger is not outside of us, but within, in unexamined desires, in needs disguised as love. And it is at this point that many men get lost, the exact moment they believe they have found what they have always been searching for. What you felt was not love. It was escape. Escape from the loneliness that lurks in silence. Escape from the emptiness that screams when you are alone. You called it connection, but deep down it was anesthesia. A temporary relief for a man who never learned to be at peace with his own company. You clung to her touch as if it were salvation, when in truth it was the beginning of your prison. Because everything that begins in desperation ends in emotional slavery. She became your north, not because she asked, but because you gave it to her. You made her your compass, your motivation, your reason to wake up. But a man who needs a woman to remember who he is has already forgotten long ago. Socrates taught us that life must be examined, but few men have the courage to examine their own desire, because in doing so, they would have to face the brutal truth that it is not her you love, it is what you hope she will heal. And then you start to shape yourself. You smile when you wanted to say no. You remained silent when you needed to stand your ground. You give in when your instinct screamed for firmness. You call this love, but Socrates would call it self-abandonment. Because each time you sacrifice your essence to please her, you become less of a man and more of a shadow of what you could have been. Her touch does not strengthen you. It weakens you because you seek it not by choice, but by need. She feels it. Even if you pretend strength, she senses the absence of structure. She sees when a man has no ground of his own. And in that moment, without saying a word, something begins to die inside her. Respect. Respect dies when you kneel emotionally, when you bend to please. She does not feel gratitude. She feels she is facing someone who traded leadership for submission, disguised as affection. You think you are being intense, dedicated, romantic, but she sees neediness, insecurity, disorientation. And no matter how much you love her, no woman admires a man who forgets who he is just to avoid losing her. You are in love, yes, but with an illusion. The illusion that she will fill the hole you dug inside yourself. But the love that is born from lack always demands more than it gives back. And this is the beginning of the end. You start living in function of her. Your decisions change. Your dreams adapt. Your routine revolves around her presence or absence. You do not realize it, but you no longer act like a man. You react like a dependent. You wait for her smile to have peace. You wait for her approval to feel valuable. You wait for her touch to remember you are still someone. And this, Socrates would say, is not life. It is emotional slavery disguised as romance. That is why the first step to breaking the illusion is brutal. To recognize that what you call love is often just fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of not being enough. Fear of facing yourself without distractions. And as long as that fear drives you, you will not be capable of loving anyone. Neither her nor yourself. Because real love is born when you are already whole. When her presence is a choice and not a necessity. She does not want to destroy you, but she will test you and the test begins at the exact moment when you believe that winning her over is the final point of the journey. When you relax, when you hand over your soul for the comfort of a smile, when you believe her love is a reward and not a battlefield. She does not test you because she is cruel. She tests you because she needs to know, does this man have the structure to carry me, or will he collapse at the first sign of tension? She watches your reactions in the details, in the silence between two messages, in the delay of a call, in the look you give when she pulls away. She does not want a man who kneels before absence. She wants to see if you remain standing even when she turns her back, because that is where the man who leads is separated from the boy who begs. You are not being rejected. You are being evaluated, measured, weighed, examined. She wants to feel security, and security is not transmitted through sweet words. Security is felt in your calmness in the face of chaos, in your firmness when she provokes storms, in your unwavering focus when she tries to steer you away from your mission. A woman respects the man who does not change his course according to her mood, who loves her but does not abandon himself to keep her close, who listens to her but does not lose his voice in the process. You think being kind is enough, but it is not. She needs to know that even when everything in you wants to please, you choose what is right and not what is easy. She needs to feel that when she cries, you remain firm, that when she challenges you, you do not fall apart, that when she disappears, you do not panic. Because the man who gets lost in the middle of the test loses not only her respect, but also himself. Many men fail this silent exam. They beg. They give in. They break their own values to avoid discomfort. They trade their mission for crumbs of affection. And then they ask themselves why she grows cold, why she distances herself, why she changes. She changes because you changed first. Because the moment she saw that you would abandon your truth to keep her, she knew you are not the harbor. You are the drifting boat. She does not want the weight of being your reason to live. She does not want to carry the responsibility of being your identity, your purpose, your direction. She wants to be loved by someone who is already whole, who does not need her to remember who he is. She wants to be chosen by a man who can live without her but decides to stay, because there is a glaring difference between love and dependence. And she perceives this difference even before you realize you are being tested. This test happens when she confronts your leadership, when she challenges your limits, when she closes herself off, waiting to see if you panic, when she provokes, waiting to see if you lose control. And in those moments, she is observing something simple and essential. Are you a man who remains whole, or just another attractive body trying to be loved at any cost? The test is inevitable, and most fail because most were taught to please and not to lead. We're taught to give in and not to establish limits. We're taught to conquer and not to maintain their mission when love demands sacrifice. Socrates did not bow even in the face of death. And you, my brother, have you been bowing for a kiss, for a touch, for a glance? She is not your end. She is your filter. The turning point where you discover whether you are a man or just someone trying not to be alone. Comment below if you are ready to walk alone. You believe that what she truly wants is a sweet, gentle man, one who agrees with everything, who never raises his voice, who bows to her desires without question, a submissive man who does not provoke, who does not assert his will, who lives only to satisfy her. But that is the illusion most men feed, and that makes her lose respect, interest, true desire. The raw and harsh truth is that she does not want a man who breaks easily. She needs, deep down, to feel that there is in you an untamable force, a silent resistance that does not bend before circumstances, doubts, or the pressures that life and she herself place in your path. She tests you not to control, but to discover whether there is something in you that remains whole even under heavy fire. She does not want to be the reason for your life, the center of your universe, the final point of your ambitions. What she longs for more than anything is to feel that you have a greater reason of purpose, a mission that transcends her touch, that surpasses fleeting desire. It is this mission that makes you shine in the dark, that makes you irresistible because it reveals a solid identity, something unbreakable within you. This man she cannot dominate is the one who has a firm direction, a mapped-out path, an internal compass that does not waver. He is not adrift, at the mercy of whims or volatile emotions. He knows who he is, knows where he is going, and does not allow the need to please or to be loved to divert him from the path he has chosen for his life. And it is this determination that creates a magnetism almost impossible to resist. She wants to be chosen, yes, but not by just any man. She wants to be chosen by the one who is already complete, the one who does not depend on her to exist, who does not seek in her a salvation for his soul or a patch for his wounds. Or being chosen must come from your integrity, from your inner strength, and not from your fragility disguised as love. Walking beside such a man is not simply sharing moments, but sharing a journey of growth, challenges, and achievements. She wants to feel that even in solitude, this man remains whole, integrous, faithful to his essence. He does not bend to please, does not surrender to the fear of loss, because he knows that his life has its own value regardless of whether she is there or not. This posture, this internal firmness, generates a kind of respect and admiration that no superficial seduction can buy. Because when you are this man, you make it clear that the game is not about domination or control, but about who maintains their own integrity when everything around falls apart. And that is exactly what she cannot dominate, because what is unbreakable cannot be dominated. Deep down, the man she cannot dominate is the one who has already conquered himself. He's the one who does not get lost in the search for approval, who does not fear silence, who does not beg for attention. He does not give in to the easy temptations of emotional power, because he knows that true power lies in remaining whole, firm in himself. And it is this posture that makes her not just a companion, but a partner. Someone who chooses to walk beside this man because in him, she sees the promise of what it means to be truly free. Socrates was not just a philosopher who sought the truth. He was a man who paid the highest price for it. He died for his own truth, for the unwavering coherence between what he thought, felt, and did. He chose to face the judgment of society and the sentence of death, but never abandoned the commitment to his inner integrity. This is the mark of the true man, to be willing to die to himself, to lies, to conventions, and to remain faithful to his own essence, even when everything around collapses. And you, what are you willing to sacrifice to keep your truth? How many times do you die a little each day? To please others, to avoid conflict, to appear more acceptable? How many times do you give up your voice, your convictions, to silence that internal restlessness that begs for authenticity? The call of us, Socrates, is a call to awaken, to set aside the masks and face the world without fear, even if it means walking alone. The unexamined life is not worth living. That sentence that echoes through the centuries is a brutal challenge for those trapped in superficiality, for those who live on autopilot, feeding desires and emotions without reflecting on their true meaning. Living without examining your desires, without questioning your motives, is to accept being a prisoner of an empty existence, of an invisible chain that shackles the soul. Socrates reminds us that it takes courage to look within and face what we find, the truth that frees but also burns. Unexamined desire becomes silent servitude. You may think you are being romantic, intense, dedicated, but in reality, you are selling your freedom cheaply. You are trading your power for crumbs of affection and acceptance, believing that submission is love. But this is the lie that few have the courage to recognize. A man who begs for validation is not loved. He is tolerated, accepted out of pity or convenience. And that is never enough for someone who seeks something real. The coherence of Socrates is an uncomfortable mirror for many modern men. He did not bow to pressure to fame or to the fear of death because his life was rooted in non-negotiable principles. That posture challenges us to find our own coherence, to build a life where words, actions, and thoughts are one and the same, where there is no room for duplicity or surrender to what weakens us. To be a true man is to accept the discomfort of truth, the loneliness. It may bring the distancing of those who prefer the easy, the comfortable, the superficial. It is to be willing to sacrifice relationships, to lose approval, to face silence in order not to lose yourself. Because the worst prison is not of the body, but of the soul that sells itself for crumbs of affection, that shrinks to fit the mold of others. The call of Socrates is also an invitation to radical freedom. The freedom not to depend on the approval of others, to exist, not to seek in another your reason for being, to be complete in yourself. That freedom is the fertile ground where true respect is born, not the kind that is demanded, but the kind that is earned through the strength of authenticity and integrity. Therefore, the question that remains for you now is this: are you willing to face your own call? Are you ready to die daily to what no longer serves, to abandon the masks and the false securities? Only then will you be able to be reborn into the freedom that Socrates lived, a freedom that is not negotiated, not begged for, not handed over, a freedom that makes the unshakable man the force that no woman can control. She is not your destiny. This is one of the hardest truths to accept. Often, we confuse her presence with the purpose of our existence, as if her love or approval were the final point of our search. But in truth, she's only a mirror, a reflection that reveals who you really are. She tests your weaknesses and your strengths, reveals your shadows and your light, and only reflects the man you allow yourself to be. She is the test, not the reward. She is not the prize that validates your life, but the challenge that awakens your growth. If you let yourself be dominated by her, if you lose your center because of her, it is because you have not yet become the man who remains whole, even in absence. Life is not about finding someone to complete you, but about becoming complete, and only them being able to share that completeness. To be the unshakable man means to stand firm, not only when everything is going well, but especially when the storm arrives. When certainties dissolve, when her silence echoes inside your chest. It is at that moment that you show who you really are, not a man of empty words, but a man with deep roots, whose strength comes from within and does not depend on the external wind. The boy who begs, who pleads for attention, who gets lost in the fear of abandonment, needs to die so that the man can be reborn. This death is symbolic, an inner transformation. A breaking point where the old version, insecure, needy, too vulnerable, is left behind. Only then does the man rise, imposing and whole, with the clarity that his life has value on its own. Trading mission for crumbs, affection for submission, neediness for illusion is selling yourself cheap. It is giving up the power that exists inside you to fit into what others want you to be. But the true man chooses the opposite path. He keeps his mission alive, nourishes his purpose, even when that means losing what seemed essential, because he knows that nothing won through weakness lasts truly. This man does not seek to save anyone, nor to be saved. He is the salvation itself. He walks with a firmness that is not shaken by absence, rejection, or silence. He is the rock against which the waves break and dissolve, while he remains still, whole, invincible. It is this posture that transforms the power dynamic between men and women, because the power that is not offered, not begged for, not sold, is the one that truly dominates. And you, my brother, are you ready? Are you ready to let die what weakens you? To abandon false dependencies? To be reborn as the man that no woman will ever be able to dominate? Because this is the choice that defines everything, between being a manipulated man or an unforgettable man. Between being a hostage of another's desire or the owner of your own destiny. If the answer is yes, then take a deep breath. Stand up now. Do not wait another day to start walking, because the journey of the unshakable man is not for those who run from the truth, but for those who face it head on and choose to be free, whole, and immortal in the soul. If this message ignited something inside you, even if it hurt, do not ignore that flame. It is the sign that something inside you is ready to change. Subscribe now to the channel and be part of a brotherhood that chose to live with purpose, courage, and truth. Here, in every video, you will be challenged to abandon the fragile man and be reborn as the man the world cannot ignore. Like, comment the part that confronted you the most, and share with those still trapped in the illusion of submissive love. Because truth can hurt, but it is what frees. These two videos in front of you are not here by chance. What if everything you believe about yourself is just a reflection of someone else's gaze? Click now on one of the videos beside and start breaking that mirror. You will have to risk the click. So, which one will you choose?